Okay, today I'm trying a little experiment. I have a new SIM card and I'm hoping that I can get a much better connection speed. It should be much faster upload, and so I hope that means you'll be able to see everything and hear everything clearly today. But still, it's still just a test, and so I'm not absolutely certain it will. Привет to the Ukraine. Message retracted already, not sure why. Hi. Okay, so let's go through some of these mistakes. Can everybody see the board clearly at the moment, or should I try turning off this light? Tell me, is that better? I can see it better like that. Can you guys see it better? It's buffering. Maybe that's a problem your end, I'm not sure. But can anybody else mention if it's better? It's better now. Excellent, better. That's what I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get it better, and it's a test today because I honestly don't know how many megabytes or gigabytes it takes to upload it onto YouTube. But we'll see. We'll give it a try today, and then if I need to get an unlimited account, I'll get an unlimited account. Okay, hi to Russia as well. So, mistake number one, I hope you can see these okay. All these mistakes were from the last couple of days from my students, and they made them literally in the last couple of days. So, number one, he insisted to see her. This is a reporting verb mistake. If you go through my videos on reporting verbs, you will see that insist must be followed by the preposition on. And then after prepositions, we always have the verb in the gerund form. He insisted on seeing her. Okay? So that's a reporting verb mistake. If you want more information about reporting verbs, please try my video on reporting verbs, or my videos. I've got at least 6 lessons on reporting verbs. There's a playlist. Type into YouTube search bar reporting verbs Mr. Skype lessons and you will find that playlist. Number 2, maybe Moss told to Bill that she has died. Now this was an interesting mistake because there's at least 2 mistakes in this sentence. And secondly, it's a tense mistake, and I find myself talking about tense very often with students. So firstly, we're narrating the story in past tenses. Now I tell students to either use all 4 past tenses or all 4 present tenses. Now what I mean is the past tense in 4 aspects. Past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous. You need to use all 4 of those or all 4 of the present tenses. It is possible to retell the story in the present tense, and we often do, but I actually prefer it in the narrative, in the past tenses. I think that it sounds more professional. And secondly, I mean really here, never use tell to, never. You tell someone. So maybe Moss told Bill, we don't have to, that's the first mistake, preposition mistake. So maybe Moss told Bill that she... Now, there's just one letter wrong here because we want past perfect, not present perfect. This action happened before Moss told Bill. And so we're going back in the narrative, and so we must use past perfect. Not has died, but had died. Maybe Moss told Bill that she had died. And you should notice that in reported speech, and this is reported speech because told, you should notice that all present perfect becomes past perfect in reported speech. And this makes sense because if you say Moss tells Bill that she has died, that's correct in present tenses. But then you put that all into the past, told Bill that she had died earlier, so it makes sense. Okay, number 3, when Sherlock arrived, so far so good, past simple, when, that's all good, to the crime scene. And of course, this is a subordinate clause, so it's not finished, this sentence, it's unfinished. When Sherlock arrived, not to the crime scene. You go to the hotel, you go to the station, you come to the hotel, you come to the party. So these kind of verbs of motion, yeah, we do use to. But with arrive, we use at. Okay, even though I agree it's a verb of motion really, with arrive we use at. Arrive at the police station, arrive at the hotel, arrive at the crime scene. And it's a very common mistake, that one. Okay, sometimes he tells about his love of travel. That was what the student said, but it would have still been a mistake even if the student had said says, and that's another very common mistake, say about. It's not actually right to say about or tell about. If in informal English, I think that native speakers may often say, he said about it to me, or something like that, but it's ugly, it's clearly mistaken, it's not what it should be. So don't use tell about or say about. You can tell someone about something, that would be okay. He told me about the test, he told me about the exam, he told me about the film. That's fine. Tell me, tell him, tell them about, but not just tell about. It's not possible. What we need here, if we're going to get rid of the person, is spoke. Sometimes, present tense, sometimes he speaks about his love of travel, or maybe sometimes he talks about his love of travel. Both of those verbs work with about, yeah? Speaks about and talks about. They both work, okay? And they're the ones we need here when we don't have the person to whom he was speaking, okay? Number 5, you don't need to be in a relation with someone. This word, a relation, it can mean a relative, okay? It can mean, when you talk about your relations are coming for Christmas, it can mean a relative. But that's not what the student wants to say here. The student wanted to say a relationship with someone. Now you ought to remember that the noun there, when we're talking about a connection between two people, it's a relationship. This doesn't have to be romantic, although it can be, certainly. You can talk about your relationship with your boss, a professional relationship, right? You can talk about your relationship with your mother or your father, a familial relationship. And so this is the word we need to use for relationships between people. Between countries, you can say relations between North Korea and the West have declined, something like that, meaning that the friendship, you are talking about the relationship, really. So with countries, you can talk about relations between countries, diplomatic relations, but you don't normally use it, you certainly don't use it in a singular form. You would say a relationship, okay? That's much more natural English anyway. Okay, George takes care about Lenny. This is, of course, the classic of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, I think. And what we've got here is a mistake with a phrasal verb. A very common mistake. I'm not sure why, but it should be take care of someone and not take care about someone. Take care about is always wrong. Don't say it. Okay, number 7. He asks them to get out from the bus. Just a very small preposition mistake, a lot of preposition mistakes today, and I suppose I am dealing with preposition mistakes more often than anything else, actually. But he asked them to get out of the bus is the correct preposition. Okay, get out of and get into, or get onto, maybe, if you're getting on and getting off. But get out of and get... Oh, sorry, yeah, I've made a mistake here. To get out of the bus. Well, that is possible, but this is just something that made me think. Remember that we say get on and get off for public transport. So we could just say he asked them to get off the bus. But it is possible to say to get out of the bus. There's actually nothing wrong with what I've written here. Because then you're thinking of the bus as a box and get out of the bus. He could say that, or it sounds quite rude to get out of the bus, but when you've got this, he asked them to get out of the bus, it means, could you get out of the bus, please? It sounds like that to me. He said to them, could you get out of the bus, please? But it is possible to say to get off the bus, and really, I would stick with this one, usually for buses. But it is possible to say to get out of, and that's certainly much better than get out from, okay? There's another lesson on who and whom, if anyone's asking questions about who and whom. But yeah, please use this one for public transport and use get in and get out for cars, usually. But I must admit, I don't see anything wrong with this sentence. So let's give 2 options here, to get out of the bus or to get off the bus. Okay, but get off I'd probably choose more often, because that's technically the right one for public transport. I've been taught to teach you that that's the right one. But you could say get out of the train or get out of the bus. There's nothing wrong with that, just like get out of the room if you're telling someone to leave. Okay, so that was an interesting one that's just suddenly occurred to me that, yeah, that's possible and that one's possible as well, but this is more common for transport. Okay, once they declined me to pay money. No, they declined to pay me money would be correct, but I'm not actually that keen on the verb decline here. I think refused is better. Decline means politely refuse. And so if you say once they declined to pay me money, it means that they've been very polite about it, but they've said, we're not going to give you any money. We're very sorry. Yeah. And usually they just say, they don't do it so politely, they just say, we will not give you money. And that's why I prefer once they refused to pay me money. Okay, I can't remember exactly what the student was talking about here. It could have been a previous job or something like that, or the bank. But anyway, I think even the bank would just say, no, we're not going to pay you any money. So remember that decline is politely refuse. It's not quite the same as refuse. Okay, they let me to go without waiting. No to with let, or make, or help. Make, well, help is possible, but it doesn't have to be. All of these you can use without to. Help me do something, let me do something, make me do something. So remember those three verbs, because they're all followed by infinitive without to, which is quite strange. So no to here. She doesn't know something about computers. This is of course about the IT crowd. I do it with a lot of students. And you've got to use negative, in negatives and questions, you've got to use anything about computers. This is negative, look, doesn't. So she doesn't know anything about computers. Next one, I made one task from the homework. Well, sorry, but that should be did, because I always tell you, use do for homework, housework, office work. And this is definitely homework, a task, an exercise from the homework. So I did one task, I did one exercise from the homework. And last one, I hope she will return to home soon. It's another preposition mistake, loads of prepositions today. I hope she will return home soon. No to before home, please. Go home. Yeah, you go to school, you go to the office, you go to church, but you go home. Why? I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It's really illogical, but with home, we don't use a preposition. We just go home, walk home, come home, and certainly return home as well. Okay, if anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask them. Not while I'm talking about these ones. That's not the time to ask them. You can try, but it will be difficult for me to read the question, understand the question, reply, and talk about these ones. So now is the time, guys. Let's go home now. What a great idea. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody, and speak to you all soon.